Welcome back to Cinematic Sarcastic, a podcast that talks all things movies and television. I'm Natalie, and I'm your host. On today's episode, we are going to talk about Ahsoka, mostly episode 5. I know. I am a lying liar who lies. I told everyone I was going to do like a combined episode of episodes 4, 5, and 6, and then do a combined episodes of the last 2, 7, and 8. Because I wasn't really feeling the first 4 episodes of Ahsoka, if I'm perfectly honest. I thought it was decent. I didn't think it was terrible. I certainly would never put Ahsoka like in Book of Boba Fett range. But as far as like the writing goes and just how interesting it was to me specifically, not so much. And then episode 5 happened. And I'm willing to admit when things are cool. And episode 5, not the whole thing, but for a good 10 minutes of it, I was all in. I was so there. It very much reminded me of the ending of season 2 Mandalorian, when everyone saw Luke Skywalker for the first time again, you know, since the movies that had come out in the 70s. And I cried during that one. Like, that was incredibly awesome and a really cool moment to kind of have again, even though obviously, you know, it's with a different physical person, I feel like, and a lot of CGI. In episode 5, there was this really cool sequence, and I will say I think that episode 5 was probably the best episode so far, but I didn't even think that the entire episode was super cool. I am mostly referring to like the flashback period, the moments between Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka, and kind of the majority of that little section. So again, it's probably about 10 or so minutes of the episode, if not maybe a little longer than that, but I want to say roughly 10 or so minutes of the episode was these flashback sequences, which I think were the strongest of the Ahsoka season to date. And I think that it's going to be incredibly difficult if they don't keep up that like momentum to keep people interested. Like, there is no way for me at least, there is no way to do episodes 6, 7, and 8 and like backtrack to the style of how the first 4 episodes was, with it being like a slower setup and not much going on, and this sort of dead delivery of lines. Like, in my opinion, that's what's kind of going on in the majority of Ahsoka, is that there's just not very much emotion happening there. But in episode 5, we, again, like I said, we got this really cool sequence that was a flashback. And I'm not sure if Ahsoka is meant to be dead at this point. Like, this is where kind of the writing takes a dip for me, or a pretty critical dive, in that she is underwater, submerged underwater, for probably 24 hours, if not longer than that, and yet somehow is perfectly alive and perfectly fine, and they don't have to do CPR. She just like is pulled out of the water and she's okay. Like, that's the stuff that like hurts my brain and like makes my eye twitch. Like, at least explain to me, how is it her species that she is capable of absorbing air through the water? Or like, explain to me how. Don't just say it's like some magical force nonsense, which they didn't even say. But I really don't like that about Disney specifically, is it's like, even if your character would be dead, they just magically are alive for reasons, you know, and I'm not a huge fan of that. But when Ahsoka is in the water, and when she's essentially, to me, dead, or in that in-between space between being alive and dead, she encounters obviously Anakin Skywalker, who is played by Hayden Christensen, which everyone knows I am biased towards, okay? So just roll with me here. And the sequence between them, especially with little girl Ahsoka, or like the younger version of Ahsoka, which, if anyone is not aware, I did a review previously in this year, I want to say, about the movie 65 with Adam Driver. And I get that the majority of people did not enjoy that film, but I really, really loved it. And I very much so enjoyed the little girl's character that is in that movie that plays opposite of Adam Driver. And that little girl, she's not a little girl, she's a teenager. I want to say she's like 16 or 17 in real life at this point, but her name is Ariana Greenblatt. And I adore her. I think that she has a great career ahead of her. And I was over the moon when I saw her in this show playing the younger version of Ahsoka, or like the teenage version of Ahsoka, when she would have been around Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars. She is amazing. And I think that her like fighting sequences in that sort of flashback, I'm sorry to say it, were better than Rosario Dawson's. I think that she just has this agility, and there was not a single second that in my mind during that flashback sequence with like the younger Ahsoka and Anakin Skywalker that I was like, well, okay, I'm going to need a live action of Clone Wars now. Like, I need to see Hayden Christensen and Ariana Greenblatt just totally kick ass and totally be in these sequences. Those sequences were done so well. And I know that like all of the, what is it, like the directed by, written by stuff, the credits, all say Dave Filoni. And I would say, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I would really question whether or not there are other people in the writing room with him during the episodes of writing Ahsoka, because to me, there is a very clear difference between how the flashback sequences are written and how the rest of the show is written. There was so much emotion and so much connection and so much, I don't know, there was more feeling to me in the delivery of lines between those flashback moments than there was in any other part during the episode, right? So I don't know if it's just a difference. I mean, I would hate to say it's a difference between like, oh, the acting ability, because I don't think that that's true. I've seen Rosario Dawson in great films delivering performances that are amazing, and I just don't see that personally in her performance or her version of Ahsoka, I guess. I will admit that when Ahsoka becomes like Ahsoka the White, she has this like levity to her and this sort of ease that I find incredibly compelling, and just I enjoy the character a lot more, or her performance of Ahsoka a lot more as Ahsoka the White. But my only thing is like, did she have that outfit with her? This is like my girl brain and overthinking and like things that are not important. But like, did she have that outfit in her cabin or whatever, like on the ship the entire time? Why was she not wearing it already? Like, why would you have that? Do you just know you're going to have like this pivotal moment? These are the things that I'm like, why are you not explaining these things that make no difference at the end of the day to an episode, but that I care about? Like, why are you not explaining them to me? Episode 5 for me was incredible. Like, at least for those sequences, I loved seeing like some of the Clone Wars action, of course, because again, I am incredibly biased. I loved seeing Hayden Christensen in this episode a lot more than in the previous one. And I have to say, I think that there is a marked difference between CGI of Hayden Christensen from episode 4 to episode 5. Like in episode 4, he looked a little bit uncanny valley, like Stepford Wives, you know, plastic skinny. But in episode 5, I think he looked incredible. I don't know that they need to do as much CGI with him as they feel like they need to do because it makes him look creepy, and I adore him. And I've met him in person. He's incredibly kind and just such a lovely human being that seeing him like with poreless plastic skin is unnerving. It just is. Like, I don't care. Personally, I don't care if he looks a little bit older, because he is a little bit older in real life, though I do understand, you know, Anakin Skywalker was younger during the time of the Clone Wars. I don't think that Hayden Christensen looks so ungodly old that he can't still pull off that stuff. Like, I don't think that they need to de-age him or do as many filters on him as they seem to be doing. But I very much enjoyed like his interaction with Ariana Greenblatt. I think that they just have a really good rapport, and I enjoyed watching them together. And I will probably never see it, but I really would love to see now a Clone Wars live action and see kind of him as more of a leading character again, because I enjoy him as Anakin Skywalker. I don't know. And I feel like I enjoy him as Anakin Skywalker more now, like more in the Obi-Wan Kenobi and Ahsoka series, now that Hayden is a little bit more matured and clearly kind of just has settled into his craft. I think he plays Anakin Skywalker not better, because I didn't necessarily hate his performance of it before, but there's just this maturity there that I think was lacking because he was so young when he was in the prequels, that he has acquired now, that I very much enjoy. And I think lends to his character of Anakin having like such a young Padawan, that he kind of has that dynamic easily, more so than I think he would have when he was 19 years old. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if this track record sticks to how it is in like episode 6, and if this stays as good in episode 6 as it was in episode 5. But for right now, I am pleased. I am more so enjoying episode 5 than I did episodes 1 through 4. So we'll see how that goes. I would love to know what your guys' opinions are of episode 5. I'm assuming everyone loved it. Let me know. Subscribe if you want to join the Movie Nerd family. And I hope to see you in the next episode.